Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel on YouTube and possibly the entire multiverse. What we're going to talk about today is claiming states and releasing unwanted states. So, basics. When we look at a state is occupied, and once occupied, expresses the contents of that state. If you're in a state of anger, you can, if you feel yourself acting, right? If you pretend that you're an actor, you can make yourself angry. When you make yourself angry, you will have thoughts of anger. You will have emotions of anger. You will have the possibility for violent outbursts. You will have an energized state. These are the expressive components of a state of anger. Now, when we reverse engineer that to its core mechanics, you were in a state, you decided to be an actor, and now you are going into the new state of anger, meaning that you were in a state and then you inserted yourself into a new state. So when we break that apart, you are a consciousness. You have the ability to insert yourself into states, and those states express themselves through you and as you. So what's really interesting about this knowledge is anger is simply one of infinite states, meaning that if you have a state of happiness, you have a state of poverty, you have a state of wealth, you have a state of ecstasy, you have a state of intelligence, you have a state of any type of dynamic experiential aspect of life that you could possibly conjure up, there is a progenitive state which produces the affects of those things, the effects of those things. So when you look at conscious creation, conscious simply means to be aware. So aware creation, aware of what you're creating, deliberate creation, intentional creation. What you're doing is now you are becoming conscious, aware of the states of which you occupy predominantly throughout the day. So when you have a day, right, you have 8 to 10 hours that you're awake, maybe more. And what you do throughout those days is you habitually go through patterns, right? You wake up in the morning, maybe you have a cup of coffee, you have your lunch at a certain time, you get tired at a certain time, you come back, you watch TV at a certain time, right? All of these things are ingrained in a cycle. So what we want to do is we want to make all of those states exceptional. We want to make all of those states exactly what we want. And that's not for me to decide. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to give you the raw mechanics of how to orchestrate the human experience in a favorable way. Because once you have the mechanics, it is your job to figure out how to play the instrument best. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that a song is better than another song. I'm just going to tell you what the notes and the keys are so that you can play it and make good music. When you have a state, right, you insert yourself into that state and you occupy it dominantly, it will begin producing emotions and thoughts first. Now, from the emotions and from the thoughts, they will program your identity if left chronically inhabited. So the way that you get an attitude to turn into a mood or a chronic state is that you simply insert yourself into that state habitually and chronically. Meaning that if you're in that state 51% of the time, that is going to start to compound and it's going to start to become part of your personality, your personal reality. So what we want to do is the first thing we want to do is we want to understand the mechanisms behind states. That, okay, whatever state I put myself into is going to express itself. And that's really important knowledge, right? Because that's a huge liberating realization, understanding that if I'm broke right now or I'm out of shape right now, that is not me. That is a state that I'm in. And it puts that detachment from it because you're like, oh, no wonder I feel so shitty because I'm not this. I'm just in this. If you're stuck in mud, you're in a state of being stuck in mud and you're like, this is not very fun. So once you understand that you are not your states, now you have this observership that allows you to look at the states that you're in from an objective standpoint and be able to ascertain whether or not you want to continue and persist in that state, or if you would like to redirect your energy and inhabit another state. So say, you take one of the big three: relationships, wealth, and health, right? Say one of those states is in an unfavorable polarity, right? It's in a more negative, polarized version of that state where it continuously shows you all day that you're lacking or not enough, etc. The idea is to first get into the state of the version of you that already has what they want. So what happens is if you're going from poverty to wealth, or bad relationship to good relationship, or whatever you don't want to whatever you want, what happens is the second you make that decision, you are in that state. Now, if you think of a state as like a cloud or a mood, what you're doing, right? So say you're going from unhealthy to healthy. Your whole life for 30 years or 50 years, or if you're an elf, 500 years, you've been in a state of unhealth, meaning that habitually, chronically, every single day, you are entertaining emotions, thoughts, and those have programmed your identity to your habitual daily behaviors in such a way that you now have a constant feedback loop of external circumstances that you have no issue looking at and seeing as negative. And that continually dictates to your internal state who you are, and you're just locked into a crystallized reality. The second that you say, I am healthy, all that shit goes, no, you're fucking not. It goes, absolutely not. Look around you. Look at all of these different things. You think you're healthy, you audacious little bugger. So when you do that, the second that you said you're healthy and you focused your awareness onto the healthy affirmation, which an affirmation is much like if you have a musical key, right? The key A, B, C, D, yada, da, 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 da. Each of those are frequencies, right? Each state is a frequency. There's a negative state and a positive state. One's keyed low, one's keyed high. So when you label something, what you're doing is you're putting a word to a frequency which matches a state. So when you say, I am healthy, right, that is technically in alignment with the state. Now, you definitely want to emphasize the emotion and feel that you are healthy, because the real power and resonance comes from the state. The label of the state focuses your mind on the state, but the state is really what builds itself out. So when you say I am healthy and your whole reality basically is in contrast to that, what will happen is you will start to have that entire reality that is the anti-reality, the unwanted reality, start to gnaw at you to get your attention, because a state that is occupied expresses, meaning that a state cannot exist without your occupancy. So if you say that you're healthy in the state that you've chronically, habitually, basically been in for 30 plus years or 20 plus years or however long, it is completely dependent on you, right? It is 100% dependent on you giving it attention. Attention is the key word. Attention is like the sun that waters and grows the plants. If you have a planet and you cut out the sun, everything withers and dies, right? So you have to understand that you are the operant power in your reality through your ability to give attention or withdraw attention. So when you take attention and you place it on something, like the sun places its light onto a plant, what happens is that thing will grow and it will become, for better or worse, occupied. So when you say that you're healthy in this whole reality that you've constructed and crystallized due to prolonged attention to it is no longer getting the necessary nutrients through your attention, it will pull out all of these fucking tricks to try to get you back into that state. It will make you feel bad. It will trigger you. It will pop thoughts into your head because it is fighting for its life. It is 100% dependent on your attention to it. So where persisting in the wish fulfilled is really meant to help you is that when you persist in the wish fulfilled, the goal is to withdraw the attention from the unwanted state and to place that attention on the wanted state. Now, what you'll notice as you go through this process is that as you continually every day affirm, I am healthy, I am this, I am healthy, I am this, you will have all of these things pop up and trigger you that are basically what was normalized in your old state, but is no longer resonant with the internal identity that you are architecting. So when you architect this new identity, you are feeding it with affirmation. You are feeding it by living in that wish fulfilled. You are feeding it by feeling into it, right? That is changing your dominant frequency. That is changing your output, if you will. The Amazon warehouse of the universe that is delivering all of these people, places, circumstances, and manifestations to you based off of your energetic frequency output is now being forcefully recalibrated through your withdrawal of attention on the unwanted and your placement of the attention on the wanted. So you're building this internal energy that is now completely unfrequency related to your old identity. So it's much like when you have a seed, you're watering it, but the entire realm around it is not sustainable to its existence. It's going to show itself to you as almost hostile. That's why if you go from not having any money to saying I have a bunch of money, you may get bills, you may have unexpected payments, you may have all of these different things that directly contrast who you are claiming to be in that moment. And that is because the internal version of you that is changing into frequency A is incompatible with frequency B, and frequency B needs your attention that you're putting on frequency A to survive. So frequency B starts to freak out and go, no, 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 look at me, this is who you are. No, 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 this is who you are. Look at me. So when you persist in the wish fulfilled, you're persisting in the state, in the frequency of the version of you that has it, but it is incompatible with your current surroundings, which is why people use common terminology such as ignore the 3D, or the 3D is a toilet bowl of your previous thoughts, right? The 3D serves two different purposes. The first is that we can experience physicalized reality. The second is it's a choosing ground for us to discern what we like and what we don't like, right? It's really good to have something physicalized, option A, option B, I like option A, let's put my focus on this, right? So the third dimension is just a big algorithm of everything that you focused on. So when you start to train your focus, it's not that you want to get into fights with anything. You don't want to engage with unwanted things, because when you engage with the unwanted things, you give it that vital life force. So when you go into the feeling and the state of the wish fulfilled, it is important to have a high self-worth and a high self-esteem, because if you really understand that what is coming to you is based off of your attention and your attention alone, you have put yourselves in the shoes of the operant power of your reality, which gives you the ability to yay or nay any type of thing to allow it to replicate and persist in your reality simply through your ability to give it the birthright, much like in the story of Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. Esau is the third dimensional reality, and Jacob is the fourth dimensional mind sense reality. Now, Isaac is blind. Isaac is your I amness, and the I amness has the ability to choose between two things at any point in time. It can choose to give a birthright to an externalized, physicalized version of the world, or it can give a birthright to an internal, fourth dimensional version of the world, which is your ideal. So the evolution of the Isaac, Jacob, and Esau version is you go into Christ, which is the Jacob, and John the Baptist, which is Esau, and the Father in heaven, which is Isaac. So that story evolves to basically explain the different states of consciousness that you have, and the choice point between accepting what is external and accepting what is your ideal from a fourth dimensional internal standpoint. And then you can back that up with the knowledge and understanding that whatever you persist in your mind in a fourth dimensional standing will physicalize itself into a third dimensional reality. Because if you look at the dimensions, they all go down. So if you have a fourth dimensional mindscape, everything's powered by attention. You put your mindscape at a fourth dimensional place, which would be a mental movie, an affirmation, or some type of mental conjuration in the immaterial, right? The immaterium. And you put it into focus. That through focus is now going to externalize itself, because as it grows and it gets more powerful, you can think of law of attraction bringing all of these couplings, all of these people, all this power, and then it finally, boom, pops into the universe as a physicalized reality. So your ability to control that higher dimensional mindscape gives you the ability at any point in time to decouple and detach yourself from feedback loops in the external reality that will keep you locked into a specific type of frequency. So if you're unhealthy and you start saying I'm healthy, all this bullshit's going to come at you, right? And the only way you can get out of that is by continually refocusing your energy inward into I am healthy, I am this is great. And if you haven't seen the video yet, go check out Eric, The Power of I Am, Deny, Choose, Be. It's one of the best videos on YouTube. You simply deny that external reality and say, cool, that's really good. That's just a byproduct of old thinking. This is my new thinking, which is producing the new reality, because this is where my power really is. It's internal. And what that does is that will give you a feeling of sovereignty. It'll give you the feeling of power, and it will decrease the importance of the third dimensional reality, because you know that it is merely an effect. And the causation of all effects is the imagination, or that fourth dimensional mindscape, which is essentially a blueprint that, when watered with focused attention and emotion, will express and impress itself onto the physical world, allowing you to have an internal locus of creation and control that gives you the ability to create and construct your reality independent of belief systems and external circumstances that may be limited and highly conditional in their ability to give you what you want. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys want any coaching, check out the link tree. Other than that, if you guys want videos made, put them in the comments. Other than that, go conquer.